This is a map of every fallen angel mentioned in the Bible. When you think of a fallen angel, you probably picture something like this: a red devil with horns and a pitchfork. But the real fallen angels named in Scripture are nothing like that. They're stranger, more specific, and far more terrifying. This video is going to be a bit different to most you'll find on this subject. Most videos on fallen angels pull from movies, folklore, or stitched together speculation. But today, we've gone verse by verse through the entire Bible and pulled every fallen angel Scripture actually names. By name, by title, by territory. And here's what most Christians never realize. There wasn't one fall, there were two. The fallen are still ruling the world today, and the final fall hasn't happened yet. By the end of this video, you'll know every fallen angel the Bible names, who they are, what they did, where they are right now, and what they're still planning. The whole rebellion told as one single story, and you and I are living inside of it. We start where everything starts. Before the earth, before time. There is a throne, and around it, a host. A great army of beings the Bible calls the sons of God. Beings of fire, beings of light, beings whose form is unlike anything you have ever seen. They serve, they worship, they stand in the presence of the one who made them. And one of them is brighter than the rest. His name is Helel ben Shachar, the shining one, the son of the dawn. In Latin, the Vulgate translates that name as Lucifer, and that is the name English Bibles inherited. But the Hebrew is older and more specific. Helel means bright, Shachar means the dawn. Together they mean the morning star. Now in the world this passage was written, the morning star was not poetry, it was Venus, a deity in the Babylonian astral religion of the day. So when Isaiah wrote this name, the original audience did not hear a sentimental title. They heard a cosmic claim, the name of a god, and that God is about to fall. Isaiah writes, "How you have fallen from heaven, O Helel ben Shachar, son of the dawn." What follows is one of the most striking passages in the entire Bible. 5 I wills. I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of assembly. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Watch what is happening here. This is not a sin of the body. This is a sin of the will. A creature made by God, deciding he will not be ruled. He will rule. He will not worship. He will be worshipped. And look at that third. I will. I will sit on the mount of assembly. The Hebrew there is Har Moed, the mountain of assembly, the seat of God's divine counsel. So this was not just a personal rebellion. This was an attempt to seize God's own throne on God's own mountain. The original divine rebel trying to overthrow Yahweh from the seat of his counsel. Now I have to clear up some drama. Some scholars argue Isaiah 14 is not really about a cosmic figure at all. They say it is only about the king of Babylon, and on the surface, they are right. The chapter literally opens by saying, "You will take up this proverb against the king of Babylon." But here is where it gets interesting. This is one of the things Scripture does best. It gives you a passage with two layers. There is an earthly king on the surface, and there is a cosmic figure standing behind him. The earthly king mirrors the cosmic figure. Same pride, same ambition, same fall. So when the prophet describes the earthly king's downfall, he is also describing the cosmic original behind it. And this matters more than it sounds, because the same pattern shows up in another passage. Same cosmic figure, different prophet. Ezekiel addresses the king of Tyre, and again on the surface, he is talking about an actual earthly king. But then he says things no human king could possibly fit. You were in Eden, the garden of God. You were the anointed cherub that covers. You were on the holy mountain of God. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created. A human king in Eden, an anointed cherub, perfect from the day he was created? No. The early church read both passages the same way. The surface tells you about the earthly king. The depth tells you about the cosmic figure standing behind him. And Ezekiel gives us something Isaiah does not. While Isaiah tells us that the cosmic figure fell, Ezekiel tells us who he was before the fall, an anointed cherub in Eden, on the holy mountain of God, perfect from the day he was created. Until pride entered him, that is the portrait of who he was before he fell. And that cosmic figure has another name, the name we use most often: Satan. In Hebrew, Satan, with the definite article, meaning the adversary. Originally a title, not a name. Job and Zechariah both show him standing in heaven's courtroom, accusing the servants of God. He is the prosecutor. Over time, the title hardened into a name. The adversary became adversary. Satan became Satan. Same figure, the shining one who fell, the accuser who still stands. So, who fell with him? John writes, his tail swept down 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. Whose tail? 5 verses later, John tells us plainly, the great dragon was thrown down. That ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. So the dragon is Satan, and the dragon's tail swept down 1/3 of the stars. In Scripture, stars almost always means angelic beings. Job calls them the morning stars. Daniel uses the same language. So 1/3 of God's heavenly host, 1/3 of his army of angels, fell with him. We do not know the total number. Scripture never tells us. But the math is staggering. Whatever the host of heaven actually was, 1/3 followed. And here's the question most readers skip. Where did they fall to? Look back at the same passage in Revelation. The great dragon was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. They did not fall into hell. They were not chained. They were not contained. They fell to the ground beneath our feet, to the world we live in. That is why the angels of this first rebellion are still active. Job shows Satan walking back and forth on the earth. Peter says he prowls like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. Paul tells the church in Ephesus that the real fight believers face is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, the unseen spiritual rulers of this present world. So when Scripture talks about fallen angels, your first instinct should not be one figure. It should be a host, an army that fell to earth, an army that walks the earth, and an army that is still moving. Now hold that image. Because the next fall does not happen in heaven. It happens on earth, and the contrast is going to hit harder than you expect. On earth, on a mountain. Genesis chapter 6 is one of the most misunderstood passages in Scripture. The Hebrews who first received it would not have been confused. We are the ones who lost the meaning, so let us recover it. Genesis writes, when man began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Stop right there. Who are the sons of God? In Hebrew, the phrase is Bene Elohim. Every other time it appears in the Old Testament, it refers to angelic beings. In Job, the Bene Elohim present themselves before the Lord's throne in the heavenly council. They are the morning stars who shouted for joy when God laid the foundation of the world. In Deuteronomy 32, the Lord assigns each nation to a member of the Bene Elohim, members of God's heavenly host. So when Genesis says the Bene Elohim came to the daughters of men, the meaning was unmistakable. Angelic beings crossing a boundary that was never meant to be crossed. And what came of that union? The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. The Hebrew is Nephilim, from the root naphal, to fall. Literally, the fallen ones. Half angel, half human, giants in stature, mighty men, men of renown. To get the rest of this story, we have to step outside the Bible. There is a Jewish text called 1 Enoch that takes Genesis 6 and tells you what happened next. It is not part of the canon, but Jude quotes it directly by name. It was about these that Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied. Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment on all. That is 1 Enoch chapter 1. Peter references the same imprisoned watcher's tradition in his second letter. So when we go to 1 Enoch from here, we are going where the New Testament authors went. Here is what 1 Enoch tells us. On the summit of Mount Hermon, 200 angels descend from the sky. They swear an oath of mutual binding, to take human wives, to father children, to teach humanity what they had no right to teach. The mountain itself takes its name from that oath. Hermon, meaning to swear. The leader of the 200 had a name, Semjaza, the first of the chiefs. But there was another. His name was Azazel, and his crime was different. He taught humanity weapons of war. Swords, knives, shields, breastplates. He taught women cosmetics and the arts of seduction. He taught humanity, in short, how to corrupt itself. And Azazel's name does not stay inside 1 Enoch. In Leviticus 16, on the Day of Atonement, the high priest casts lots over 2 goats. One goat is sacrificed to the Lord. The other is sent alive into the wilderness for Azazel. One lot for the Lord, and the other lot for Azazel. For Azazel, as if Azazel is the recipient, a wilderness demon named directly in Israel's most sacred ritual, the same Azazel from Hermon. The rest of the chiefs each taught something forbidden. Kokabeel taught the constellations. Sariel taught the courses of the moon. Shamsiel taught the signs of the sun. Armaros taught the loosing of enchantments. Barakijal taught astrology, each one a different forbidden knowledge. Then the flood comes. The watchers themselves are not killed. They are bound. Peter writes, God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment. The Greek word translated hell here is Tartarus. It only appears once in the entire New Testament. Not Hades, the realm of the dead. Not Gehenna, Jesus' valley outside Jerusalem, word for hellfire. Tartarus was older and deeper. The pit beneath the pit. The prison reserved for the worst of cosmic rebels. That is where the watchers are now. But here is what the flood did not do. It did not erase the bloodline. Centuries later, Moses sends 12 spies into Canaan. 10 come back terrified. They report giants. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who come from the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers. Anak was the patriarch of the Anakim, a tribe of giants in Canaan. The hybrid line survived the flood. The giants Israel will fight in the conquest. The Anakim, the Rephaim, Goliath of Gath, trace back to that mountain. For the first 300 years of the church, this was the dominant reading. Justin Martyr, Athenagoras, Tertullian, all three taught the same thing. The demons we encounter today are the disembodied spirits of the dead Nephilim. But not every fallen angel is bound. Some are still walking, some still rule, and Scripture knows them by name. Most assume those names come from folklore, medieval invention. They do not. They come from Scripture itself. Begin in Deuteronomy chapter 32. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the peoples according to the number of the sons of God. the sons of God, Bene Elohim again, heavenly beings, and God assigned each of them a nation, each one a territory, each one a people. That was the original administration of the world. But remember what we just saw 2 sections ago. The first fall, Satan's rebellion, the one that swept a third of the heavenly host to the ground. Those falling stars included many of these territorial administrators. Their thrones did not vanish. They simply went dark. The territories did not disappear. They became contested ground. And Scripture names the rebel rulers who hold them. Start with the Prince of Persia. Look at Daniel chapter 10. Daniel has been fasting and praying for 21 days. A heavenly messenger finally arrives, and listen to what he says. The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days, but Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. The prince of Persia is not the human king. The human king of Persia at this moment is Cyrus, the man who freed Israel from Babylon. The prince of Persia is something else. The Hebrew word is Sar, prince, ruler. A territorial fallen angel assigned over Persia, holding the realm against the messengers of God. Sit with what that means. One single fallen prince was strong enough to delay heaven's messenger for 3 full weeks. Only when Michael, one of God's chief princes, the same Michael Jude calls an archangel, arrived to assist did the standoff break. That is your first named prince. Now Scripture names a second one. A few verses later, the same heavenly messenger speaks again. Now I will return to fight against the prince of Persia, and when I go out, behold, the prince of Greece will come. The prince of Greece. Same word, Sar, same kind of being. Another nation, another fallen angel ruling it. 2 princes, 2 empires, and the implication is that there are many more. So far, 2 territorial princes. Meet the next name on the list. His name is Beelzebul. In Matthew chapter 12, the Pharisees accused Jesus of casting out demons by the prince of demons himself. It is only by Beelzebul, the prince of demons, that this man casts out demons. That name has a history. In 2 Kings chapter 1, the Israelite king Ahaziah sends messengers to consult an oracle at the Philistine city of Ekron. The deity's name there is Baal-zebub, Lord of the Flies. But that was already a deformation. The original Philistine god was Baal-zebul, Lord of the lofty dwelling. The prophets of Israel mocked it. They turned a throne into a dunghill. By the time of Jesus, both forms exist. And Beelzebul has become the title for the prince of demons. Not a ruler of one nation, a ruler of demons themselves. That is the third name. Now Scripture gives us a fourth. His name is Belial. Paul writes to the church at Corinth, what accord has Christ with Belial? The Hebrew is Belial, without yoke, without worth. Originally a common noun for lawlessness. Over time it hardened into a name. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the war scroll from Qumran, call Belial the chief of the sons of darkness, opposed to the Prince of Light. By Paul's day, Belial is the named opposite of Christ himself. That is 4 named rulers, and then there is one more. But the last one is unlike the others. His name is Legion. The other names were individuals. Legion is not. In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus meets a man held by an unclean spirit. He asks the spirit its name. My name is Legion, for we are many. A Roman legion was about 6,000 soldiers, so legion is not really a name in the ordinary sense. It is a count of how many demons were packed inside this one man. An entire battle formation occupying a single human body. And here is what that reveals. The territory of a fallen power is not always a nation. Sometimes it is a single person. Persia and Greece sit at the scale of empires. Legion sits at the scale of one soul. Same kind of being, different scale of occupation. 5 names. Now pull them all together into one picture. Paul writes, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." That is not poetry. It is military structure. Paul wrote this letter in Greek, and in the original Greek he uses 4 distinct words, 4 ranks of fallen power: archai, the rulers; exousiai, the authorities; kosmokratores, literally world rulers; territorial powers; pneumatica tes ponerias, the spiritual forces of evil. 4 tiers of fallen authority: the prince of Persia, the prince of Greece, Beelzebul, Belial, Legion. They are not folklore, they are officers in this hierarchy. And here is the distinction that has to be clear. Every one of these princes is on a leash. Their movement is permitted, their range is given, their freedom ends exactly where God says it ends, and that leash gets shorter every chapter, because there is one fall still coming, and that one is final. Watch what John shows us. "And the 5th angel blew his trumpet, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to earth, and he was given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit. He opened it, and from the shaft rose smoke like the smoke of a great furnace." A star, falling, given a key. That same prison where the watchers have been bound since the flood. And he opens it. So watch carefully who comes out of that pit. Because it is not Satan, it is something else. In appearance, the locusts were like horses prepared for battle. Their faces were like human faces, their teeth like lions' teeth. They had breastplates like breastplates of iron. The noise of their wings was like the noise of many chariots rushing into battle. Not insects, something wearing the shape of insects. And this army has a king. They have as king over them the angel of the bottomless pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek he is called Apollyon. This is the only verse in the entire Bible where a fallen angel is named in 2 languages in the same sentence. John wants both audiences, Jewish and Greek, to know exactly who this is. Abaddon. In Hebrew, the word means destruction, or more literally, the place of destruction. In the Old Testament, Abaddon is not a person at all. Abaddon is a location, the deepest part of the underworld. Job says it plainly. Sheol is naked before God, and Abaddon has no covering. The pit beneath the pit, the place from which nothing is hidden, because there is nowhere lower to hide. So in the Old Testament, Abaddon is the place. In the New Testament, John gives that place a king, and the king carries the same name as the realm he rules. Apollyon, the Greek word for destroyer. And the original audience would have heard a polemic in that name. The Greek god of light, prophecy, and healing was Apollo, and the surface of his name shared a root with the Greek verb apollumi, which means to destroy. Roman emperors of John's century styled themselves the living incarnation of Apollo. So when John named this king Apollyon, the message landed hard. The shining god of the empire was not a god at all. He was the destroyer king of the pit. Now scholarship is honestly divided about him. Some read him as a fallen angel given temporary command of the horde. Others read him as a divine executioner working under God's own seal. Scripture leaves both readings open. But what neither reading can avoid is this. The abyss opens, the horde walks for one season. Then it ends. But while Abaddon walked, the dragon's own clock was still running, and Scripture shows where it stops. 3 more scenes. Not the same scene, not the same prison. 3 separate moments at the end of the story. First, the war in heaven. Now war arose in heaven, Michael and his angels fighting against the dragon, and the dragon was defeated, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven, and the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent, the devil and Satan. The dragon thrown to earth, then to the abyss. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, holding the key to the bottomless pit, and he seized the dragon, that ancient serpent, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. A different key, a different angel, the same pit. This time, the dragon is the one going in, then to the fire. And the devil, who had deceived them, was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur. And the same sentence for every angel that fell with him. Jesus spoke it himself, long before John ever saw the vision. Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Heaven, earth, the abyss, the lake of fire. That is the whole map. 4 locations, each one tighter than the last. The first fall lost heaven, the second lost freedom, the third lost dominion. The last takes the rest, and that is where the story of every fallen angel ends. From the Shining One at the dawn of time to the Destroyer King at the end of it. The same fire, forever. Every fallen angel we just met tried to climb. Lucifer reached for God's throne. The Watchers crossed heaven's boundary. The princes seized thrones. Abaddon rises to destroy. The same pattern, the same pride. And then came Christ. The King of all the angels did the opposite. He did not ascend, he descended. He let his own creation crucify him. On that cross, he took the punishment every fallen rebel earned and offers it freely to anyone who will receive him. That offer is open right now. If you have never trusted Christ, do it in this moment. Tell God you have sinned. Receive his Son. And the King no fallen one could ever overthrow will write your name into his eternal kingdom, where one day you will rule and reign over every fallen angel we just met. Our next video is on the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the same cosmic powers finally unleashed at the end of the age. You'll want to check that out. Thanks for watching, guys.